resistance and get real about the conversations we were once afraid to have. This is esoteric insight, truth telling, and honest self investigation. We're sharing how old fear based stories have sparked an empowered shift in our awareness. It's going to be fun, y'all. It's live, it's safe to be here because we are definitely going beyond belief. You can find us live on YouTube Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Be sure to follow the show, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. Leave us a kind rating or a comment if this speaks to your soul. All right, family, let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Devette. How you doing? Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Beyond Belief series. How are you, Devette?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Happy Sunday. Good to see you.
Happy Sunday to you, my friend. Let me
Well,
get comfortable. I'm ready for our conversation.
I know because it just gets better all the time. And the reason why I say that is because I am actually like looking in the Bible. And I have not done that for a while. I am like, I'm not against the Bible. I just have all of this stuff in my head about what it means. So I'm so glad that we have this conversation every Sunday to give me a different perspective about it. And considering that I am looking through a metaphysical lens, I
Hmm.
just love this, right? I can see something different. So thank you for even,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
wanting to
It
do that.
changed my life as well. It did. It changed my life. Being able to see me in the story, yeah. Game changer.
I know. And it just, I don't know. It's something about the stories that takes you out of your victimhood, and if you put yourself in the Bible and just kind of really, really like you're not the victim here. You're actually it's for your growth and expansion. So you've been covering Job, and of course, everybody. I'm sure everybody that's listening to this can say, "I have had a Job moment," right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, where, all is lost and it's just like, woe is me, and everything is going left and upside down and all around.
Right?
And yeah, and so like, what do you do? So what last week we talked about Elihu, right?
Elihu.
Elihu, he
And yes,
represents spirit.
yes, he represents, the friend that comes in with the balance, the spiritual and the physical. He's the perfect blend of both, where he can, talk about you being human in Job. Now wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then he also can talk to the hurt that Job was feeling also about his life. I'm thinking I'm a righteous person. I'm thinking that all things are working well for me. But when you look at it from the soul perspective, it's really divorcing yourself or walking away from or finding emptiness in
Mhm.
materialism when it no longer serves you, when the job doesn't serve you, when the church service, the fifth church service of the of that Sunday
Mhm.
doesn't serve you, when the flavor of the month doesn't serve you. It's all of that. It's about the soul's journey into this earth realm, because when the soul is on the other side, it doesn't need the polarity, you know.
Right, exactly.
Right. So that's God conceptually. This is God experientially. That's what we get to do here, is to experience, you know, being a God in this situation, in all situations. But sometimes, um, not sometimes, a lot of times, there
Mhm.
are there are things that distract us because we are building our lives. We're building our persona.
Mhm.
We're building it, you
Mhm.
know? And so when you're building it, you're going through your age years, your 20s, your 30s, and then you reach a certain age and you see that those things no longer serve you. They're pretty limiting, but they did serve you for a time. And
Yeah.
that is what Job is talking about.
And his restoration also, like this whole experience with Job and his surrender, and
Hmm.
it's like he realized that he could no longer, or this is symbolic of us no longer like holding on to external justification or external reasoning for what has happened. It's like you now, instead of that, you understand through your own divine identity and your connection through direct, like, spiritual experience, right? It's
Yeah,
no more, like you said, go to the church, no more looking on the outside. This is
right.
all about seeing, just having spiritual insight to me.
Absolutely. And going into this space of quietness, that door that, leads directly inward so that you can have the God conversation. And that's where we are this week. Last week, we talked about Elihu being able to lead Job to that door. This week, we talk about God opening up the conversation with a bunch of questions for Job, because Job was persecuted. Well, Job had his reasons, but Job was asking some serious questions and doubting himself, and Job's labels became more than his his soul's quest. And,
Mhm.
let me explain that. You
Yeah,
know, when you have fought so long to become Devet, da 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 da, Devet the behaviorist, when
yeah,
you fought so hard to be the Devet the mom, the good mom, the Devet the great singer, the Devet, you fought really hard to to manage these labels, and then you come to this moment in your life where none of those things even make sense to your existence. You know.
exactly. Your ego gets stripped, and that's exactly how I see Job here. Like, this is that dark night of the soul, like this spiritual awakening, that whole process, that whole spiritual alchemy process. And
Yes.
yeah, it is. And so I've been paying attention to this a little bit more and really just thinking about it, the stories, and not seeing them for what I was conditioned to believe them to be.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so just thinking about my own self, and that whole ego identity is just being crushed, right? In this spiritual alchemy process. And that is literally what happens. You are not all of these things that you work so hard to be,
Absolutely.
this person with that degree or that certification or this, label
Right.
that you give yourself. Yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah.
very
You can no longer depend on those things to identify you,
yeah.
because you know that the soul isn't here for that. And
Mhm.
there's this cracking of that shell that the soul does. It peeks through those cracks that no longer serve you, and you
Yeah.
can see this light, and you can ignore it. I mean, God, I ignored many times calls of my soul telling me to come inward, that there's a greater story, that there's a richer a richer foundation, that this isn't all that is, and you are
Mhm.
connected truly to the all that is, but you first got to put me in focus. And that's the real mission of the soul, to
Mhm.
come back into its oneness,
Yes.
to come back into its agreement
Mhm.
with
It's
the all that
it's
is.
contract that it made or to
Yeah.
come here, yeah, I guess, the soul's contract, that's very interesting to me now. I'm kind of being drawn to that soul contract, that whole experience with your soul contract. Like, I know your soul know what it came here to do, but I wanna
Hmm.
be in alignment with my soul. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I wanna stay in alignment with my soul. I feel like now I am, but before, like Job, you're like, I have not done any of these things. I've been this person standing up in the community. I've given that. I've proven this and proven that. And yeah, all of that doesn't work anymore. So I love this conversation. I actually do. And it really is helping me to, yeah, connect to the Bible because I really
Yeah.
look at that as a tool of like conditioning and fearful threat. That's how I looked at it. Like you're just
Oh, absolutely. And we know, and we have talked about, you and I in our private time, we talk about why religion was used to be weaponized against us. So that is just not a private conversation that you and I have. This is a conversation that many people have had, and some people believe, and some people, choose to believe it the way they want to. We're not here to persuade anyone uh, to go any way. We're just giving our opinions. And my opinion about esoteric teachings of the Bible helps to enrich my experience here in in the earth realm while
yeah.
I'm here. I can see my power here. I can truly step into my true co-pilot, not meaning uh, someone that jumps in because the pilot leaves, but to truly sit beside the pilot, my creator, to truly sit inside of my creator and know my oneness and know that I have the power
Hmm.
to imagine, feel, and uh, manifest my world to be what I want it to be. And that's the most empowering thing I think about Job is that once Job began to clear his words up, and we talked about that last week, but
Clear up your words. Clear up your words because they
yeah,
matter.
they do matter. And I mean, the smallest of them matter because the thing about a word is that the word, before the word is formulated, there has to be a feeling to connect.
Thought too. Yeah.
Right. And so you begin to clean that up because now you know you're creating experiences. And so now you decide how you want your lessons. You begin to want your lessons more from inflection than just having the experience of bumping around and figuring it out that way.
Mhm.
And when Job started to do that, Job started to surrender. I get it, God.
Sweet surrender. What does that feel like to
Yeah,
you? Surrendering.
freedom, complete freedom. It's like at first it doesn't feel like freedom because I'm fighting. You go through that little yeah.
For
You,
sure.
you're fighting yourself. You're trying to find every excuse not to believe. I remember when God said to me, my internal divine voice said to me, "So you don't believe the words that's coming out of your own mouth, but you want someone else to believe them?" Oh my God. Such a big question where I had to then reframe what I was thinking and how I was going to say what
Yeah.
I was feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get you on that. That's me actually creating different products for mentoring other women and
Mhm.
in creating those courses and workbooks and I was asking, creating documents to ask questions to kind of get into some shadow work, but I had to do it for myself. I cannot sit here and ask you, what do you really believe to be true about love, about religion, about a family if I don't know what I really feel about it. So in me creating those documents, I had to actually do the work. It was literally in my own face
Yeah.
because as I said before, I was on another podcast, I was saying how I was suicidal at one point, even when I was a practicing professional. But I realize now that each time that I told someone how powerful they were and I empowered them, I was just actually doing it to myself. So me helping someone to save their own life helped me to save mine. At the end of the day, that's what it is. We're reflections of each other. So
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
I, I love that. So one of the things that Job said is, "I abhor myself."
Mm.
Whenever it was time for, I guess after God was like, "What? You don't know who I am?" And Job said, "I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes." But there is a different understanding about that. So what was he, how would you interpret that?
Well, it is the end. It's the end of the ego,
Yes, ending
and
that ego.
yeah, it's the detaching from the ego and stepping completely into his divine oneness. And so you cannot step into your divine oneness holding these ill pictures of yourself.
Yeah. Wow. That is
It's just that's
that's very
two different
significant.
frame of thoughts,
Death of the false self.
right?
That is,
So
yeah, yeah.
you have to end up. I use the word divorcing because it's a a very common word, and we have a big meaning to it.
Yeah.
But it's not even just divorcing, it's completely ignoring, or not, I don't even want to use the word ignoring, but it completely
I like
uh,
divorce. I mean, you can do, yeah, I love that.
divorcing that fear, from that
Yes,
fear,
yes.
that
Divorce is a
that
final.
version of yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I do.
And
Yeah.
when you can do that, then you can step into your divine oneness. Um, as God isn't trying to hurt himself. So if God is you, of course he's not going to want to have a crazy conversation with himself.
God is not masochistic.
Hey, gee. So
Mhm.
here Job is saying, oh my God, I abhor this false vision of myself. And now I die to that version of me. And I own or allow this beautiful version of me that you know me to be. I am one with you. And because I'm one with you, now I get to get double back of what I once had, double for my trouble, which simply means you are finally back into your oneness.
Yes, it's
You're
not about,
back into your oneness, not just about he restored you, restored your finances. That comes along with it because your mind has changed. Now you understand you are the finances,
you
you
are the
are the thought,
yes, there is no lack. You now understand that. Yeah.
right?
There is no lack. You are
Now you got to
always,
understand that through some hard moments,
yes. Absolutely. I do. I had to take a look at that because I was like, uh God is, that's pretty much the story that I remember, that God was blessed double for all of the pain and suffering that he went through. And in my head, it was all material. It was everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was like, good. He's going to get more money, he'll have more love or whatever, but it's so much more than that. It's just like being restored to your inner clarity, like having a deeper sense of awareness.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and having that deeper sense of peace. That is much more valuable than double portions of a bank account. And trust me, I mean, we all love money, but I'm just saying it's this awareness that I wake up and I am so grateful for the clarity now. And that is what's being restored to Job. That is what I feel is being restored to Job. And
Yes.
yeah, that's so
Mhm.
good. That makes it even better than my understanding from before.
Absolutely, because now Job doesn't look just one dimensional. And
Right.
when we just make it about the finances, we
Yes.
minimize the power that really lies within us. We have the winning freaking power,
We got the
which
winning
which,
power.
which goes into what we're going to talk about next week.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Second Timothy 1:7.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
because you have the winning power, and the winning
Already.
power is inside of you.
Yes,
And
yes,
and
yes.
and it's quietening your loud ass world,
Yes. Yes.
and not being afraid to hear your own voice
Yes. And trust it.
and trust it. You can give your advice to everybody else, but you can't follow it.
You cannot
It
follow it, nor do you trust your own self. You trust giving it away to someone else. So like we pretty much have the answers for everyone else, you know?
Mhm,
And and
mhm.
and and that really just takes the focus off yourself, but we have the winning power inside of us. You are so absolutely right. I love that, family. This is what we have to pay attention to. This is the teachable moment here. You
Yeah.
have the winning power inside of you. There's nothing that outside of you that you need. Everything is inside of us, and I'm happy about that
And
today.
these stories in the Bible are just reinforcers of the power that you have inside of you. There's
Yeah.
no need to fear a book because it has a certain name or an energy that people have put behind it to
Yes.
control you. What this book is, as any
Yeah.
story, you can see this story, as I said to you. You can overlay Job's story with stories of our own. You can overlay Job's story with freaking the Wizard of Oz. Did Dorothy not lose everything to go inward? That's really what the journey was. The following the yellow brick road, and she went to a false god who she believed could restore everything, and he sent her back to her internal self to
Mhm.
heal and do all of that, which
Yeah.
then she she was able to go home by going inward. There is no story that isn't about you
Mhm.
and your different states of consciousness. You can find any movie and make your story and make your story fit it. And you are the hero, you are the antagonist, you are
The villain,
you man one, you man two, those are all different states of consciousness.
superhero, you all of them. Yeah.
Right. Stop ripping your own self off from your own power
Yeah,
by
we have been doing it.
limiting yourself with false narratives that isn't what you are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, just
That's going to take some work. That's going to take some work, people. That's going to take some work. Don't rip yourself off. You're robbing yourself. You know,
yeah.
you a stick up kid now because that's what you're doing. You sticking yourself up,
Stick
robbing
up here.
yourself. We're
Yeah.
robbing ourselves of what is divinely ours, what's innate in us. Right? We have the winning power.
Yeah. We have the winning power. And that power is more than just what we would call dunamis,
Mhm.
dynamite power, or uh or the power of autonomy. It's more than that. It's about a freedom inside of you that
Mhm.
can lead you into a peaceful, restful garden of Eden of your own,
Yes. Yes.
when you can begin to trust your own voice in the smallest of things.
Mhm.
What are you leaving here as a legacy?
Mhm.
And I want to leave this kind of knowledge for my grandkids. I want to leave this kind of knowledge for my children so that
Mhm.
they'll have a different jumping off space.
Yes.
Not that they won't have their own soul and go and Job moment, because we all do.
Your
But
grandkids have come here with way more knowledge than we have. They are coming to the earth realm at your grandkids' age. They're coming here equipped. They're not
yes,
even going to grow up and have any of this type of, historical, baggage that we're carrying. I'm talking about our age group because we were conditioned through Christianity, right?
mm-hmm,
We were.
mm-hmm,
And now this ascension is happening, and either we're going to let go or be dragged. And
yeah,
so, either you're going to be a part of it, or I mean, we're all a part of it. It's
we
just
all get there. Remember, we all get there.
we
Our
all
path
get
is,
there.
we get there.
We just
This
may
is our
be at different
soul's
times.
journey.
Yes, yes. And so, yeah, that
It's
part.
just It's just our grandkids will have different tools to use
Oh
for
my
their soul
gosh.
stream.
I think they have a
That's so
different
not it's that isn't as limiting as our belief systems were. You
Yeah,
know, how regimented we were. But it
yeah, they're
doesn't
not
mean that they
coming here
won't
with
have
that.
their own Job moment.
No, they will, but they will know how to handle it. They are gonna be. I believe these children that are being born way different from us. Star seeds are coming to the earth. They're coming to
Yeah,
the earth, yeah, with a whole different. Their soul's agenda is different from, I guess, ours. I don't know,
yeah.
um, but I think that they will be a lot better off than we have.
I
I
do
don't
too. I mean, listen, we
know.
were
It's been tough
raised
for
without
me.
we were raised without with not this kind of information flowing. And so
Mhm.
being able to have this information flowing really helps.
Empowers them. Yes, it puts them
Hmm.
in a place of empowerment, and we are there now. I'm getting there, but that spiritual awakening and death of your ego self and fighting, all of that is real. If people don't believe it and you haven't gotten there yet, just keep right on living. Keep on living.
My
Yes, it's
grandmother used to say that.
yeah,
Keep
my
on living.
dad did you just keep right on living is going to happen. And so I just wish that I had more information or different information at the time. However, I'm not mad because because of the spiritual awakening, I have a deeper sense of who I am. I have
Hmm.
that remembrance, right?
Hmm.
It is, yeah. And that to me feels like a double portion. I'm not kidding.
It does.
For me, it feels like double portion because of because of the awareness, because of
You know,
remembering.
I am really at a good place in my life where I don't mind going inward and doing the work for myself. That work time is so empowering. And even my Job moments, and it just came through a Job moment, but it's so empowering to see myself fight I don't even fight them anymore now, but really I don't,
Right.
because there's no need to fight a fixed fight. I don't have to do that anymore. But there are times where I'm going back and forth,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
you
mhm.
know, that
What?
for every level there is a challenge.
Yes.
I am a constant construction zone. I'm
Yeah.
always under work.
Under construction. It's the truth. My sign is up too, under construction.
I'm under
Yeah,
construction. And
and
I'm
we are.
regentrifying some areas, Deb.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. We should. Some of us look at regentrification from a different point of view, but I love that, right? That analysis. I'm regentrifying some stuff in my neighborhood, right?
I'm in my own neighborhood. I am
My
regentrifying
neighborhood.
some things.
Yes, I like that.
I'm tearing down some old beliefs. That side of town that nobody ever wanted to really go to. You go
Barren.
over there for your favorite something, but it's not the side of town that you really want to be caught after dark.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
those are those negative beliefs of myself, of worth, attaching my worth to a label,
Yeah,
attaching my worth to things. I love the way Solange said, I tried to work it away, I tried to sex it away, I tried to, you
yes,
know, all of these things, try to ignore it. But your soul cannot be ignored. And I've seen, as you said, you either, come along with it or get
yeah. Let
dragged.
go or be dragged, and we don't have to hustle for our worth anymore.
Mm-mm.
We don't have to hustle for our worth. We are worthy, and so
Mhm,
yeah, I love that. We don't have to do any hustling. Hustling days are
mhm.
over. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask a question to the audience. What does restoration look like for my soul? Not just in material terms, but as a return to divine alignment and inner peace. What does that look like? What does restoration look like, to your soul? Can you answer that?
Are
What
you
is
asking me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question for the audience, but
Oh, yes. Hi.
we're here, being
What does
restored.
restoration look? like for my soul, it
Mm-hmm.
feels like a bubbling brook, like a, like a well that's inexhaustible. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
feels like. There's new knowledge always dropping.
Mm-hmm.
There is a constant awareness of what I am believing about myself and what I'm allowing to come into my experience. There, restoration to my soul feels like um, I'm 15 years old again, but now I have a different view about myself. It feels like I'm starting over with this fresh new look about my soul's travel and my role here in Earth or on Earth. So, what does yours look like? I mean, that's what I feel mine look like in words. If I could put it in words, a
Mm-hmm.
picture, I'm not sure. So, what does yours look like?
So it just feels like freedom to me. The restoration that I feel from many of the Job moments. It wasn't just one time, I'm sure, that we had a Job moment. I can probably count on like both hands. I've had some Job moments. At least it
Hmm.
felt like that. But restoration, being restored from that understanding of that Job moment, thinking that something was happening to me. Restoration feels like I know that it's happened for me. So now
Mm,
I have that different, that understanding that it was nothing that was happening to me all the time. It was all happening for me. That's what restoration feels like, because it's not about material things. I mean, I've gone through a couple divorces. And in those divorces, of course, you think, things are lost, houses are lost. And so now, but when I think about that, it has nothing to even do with the house, because it's plenty of houses, you know. You could get
right,
another one. It is being restored to a different understanding and a different awareness that nothing is happening to me. It's all happened for me. I love that.
right.
I really do. I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that one.
Restoration feels like, if I could give it a picture, would feel like a European vacation on somebody else's dime. I'm
Oh,
just,
yeah, that's cool. Right. I can see that.
it feels like rest. It feels
Mm,
like the word that it implies, you know, that it is rest for me. And it feels like I have different answers for this stage of my life,
yes.
you know. I love the way Carl Jung, he talks about this kind of midlife crisis being a door to awaken
Mhm.
your soul. And you can lay Job's story over his theology and it just fits right there.
Mhm.
But um it's this, you've built up this way, this persona of yourself, and now you get to really pick apart, or not just pick apart, but to dissolve those beliefs that you once held about yourself,
Mhm, mhm.
and how limiting they truly were, and how in this state of your life they won't, those answers don't have, those questions that you have for yourself can't be answered in the normal way.
Right.
And I love that, um, about the story of Job and restoration, and looking at your soul as a journey, having this journey that, you feel more empowered.
Mhm, yeah.
You just feel more empowered. And I don't want to go on and on and on, but I really do love that story, because that story reminds me so much of my life. And that story reminds me so much of the power that I have in my own voice, and the responsibility that I have for my life.
Mhm, mhm. Mhm,
And
mhm.
I love that.
Mhm. I love that too, responsibility. So
Yeah.
what you gonna be talking about next week? As we kind of wind down in Job, I just want to say shout out to Job. I love it. And to our divine creator for restoring us, for giving us sweet restoration in the times when we feel disconnected and we look outside of ourselves for the answer. Thank you to the divine creator who has given us the winning power right inside of ourselves, right? In order
Yeah,
to make these transitions and take these quantum leaps into higher awareness and to align with our divine truth. I'm just so grateful. I am.
I am grateful to Deb. Next week I want to go into let's it's just a scripture, and it's Second Timothy 1:7 is my favorite scripture because it's so empowering. And I'm just going to tell you what it is. It
Okay.
says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Now, I tell you, that is the
Yes.
most alchemaic scripture you can ever read in
Mhm.
the Bible. And that's what I want to talk about, that you have been given the winning ticket, even given the winning formula to make great decisions in your life and have so much power. And so that's where we're going next week. Just briefly into that.
Well, I love that because this is the Fear to Freedom Project. And if this is your first time, I tend to forget this, but if this is your first time looking at the channel, just smash a like for us and give us a comment and let us know how this resonated. It helps our content to continue through algorithms, is what they say. And so thank you for that. And if you're a returning champion, thank you so much for returning to us. But yeah, at the Fear to Freedom Project, this is where fear ends and freedom begins.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that God did not give us a spirit of fear. And I will share my conversation that I had with God. It was brief, but I will just share next week what God said to me through I heard with my own ears about fear. So I'm glad that you're going to be talking about that, the spirit of fear.
Yeah, let's hit that head on. If that's what this is what the podcast is about. Hitting fear square in the head and knocking the shit out of it. Sorry.
Knocking the shit out of it. And I love that. You don't have to apologize here. We can say what we want.
Just knocking it out of the daggum box, because first of all, we are not built for fear. So we are built for polarity, not to have our fear motor running all the time.
Right.
So that's where we want to go. So that, we're here to knock shit in the head and to dispel the myths, to make you feel powerless. We're here to empower.
This is the empowerment zone. Do you
Hmm.
want to offer um a spiritual nugget or a spiritual treatment to the audience before we leave? Or and you don't have to. Sometimes you have those treatments and
Sometimes I do. I don't have any treatment today,
okay.
but I will say, let's you go and be blessed, and know that you are empowered to get results, and that you and your creator are one. There is no separation. Nothing can separate you from the love of your creator.
Mm-hmm.
Go walk in love.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored that you like to share your wisdom through the esoteric lens about the Bible.
Yes. Thank
It-
you.
it's much needed here. So, all right, family. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Beyond Belief. We certainly hope that this conversation stirred something up in your soul or brought you closer to your higher self. And don't forget to follow the channel. We are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And thank you for sharing this amazing channel with someone that you love. It's going to be great things. We're going to be here the same time next Sunday, same place. So until we meet again, I want you to stay compassionate. I want you to stay connected and just remain curious. You know, stay curious. Don't 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 give up on being curious and asking questions. You know, don't take the first thing that we hear at face value. Just go a little bit deeper. All right, peace and love, everyone.